Have you ever wondered what happens when an entire generation of men simply stops playing the game that was never fair to begin with? When millions of men quietly close the door, delete the apps, pocket their wallets, and walk away without anger, without drama, just pure, calm, irreversible resolve. What you are watching right now across every city on earth is the single largest shift in male behavior in recorded history. And by the time you reach the end of the script, you will understand exactly why these men are never coming back, why the panic you are starting to hear from certain corners is only the beginning, and why every single road that brought us here leads straight to one destination: men walking away. Stay until the final sentence because the last story I tell will probably hit closer to home than you expect. If you want more raw, unfiltered, angry guy content that cuts through the noise and tells it exactly like it is, smash that like button right now. Share this with every man you know who needs to hear it, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a single upload. And while you are down there, go click the link in the description and check out Angry's Crypto Academy. That is where I teach men step by step how to buy, store, trade, and protect their crypto so nobody can ever take what you worked for. Not the courts, not an ex, not the system, nobody. The Academy is waiting for you right now in the description. Go lock it in today. And if these videos are hitting hard and you want to keep the angry guy firing on all cylinders, you can buy me a Red Bull through the link below. Every can keeps the truth coming. Let us begin. Picture this. It is a Thursday night in any major city you want to name. 10 years ago, that street would have been full of men dressed sharp, walking into bars, approaching tables, starting conversations, taking phone numbers, setting up dates, paying for drinks, chasing the spark, believing the script that if they just worked hard enough, stayed confident enough, and loved hard enough, everything would work out. Fast forward to tonight, same street, same bars, same music pumping through the speakers, but something is dramatically different. The men are not there. Not in the same numbers, not with the same energy, not with the same willingness to play. You walk past 10 tables of women sitting together, phones out, glancing at the door every 30 seconds, wondering why nobody is coming over. They post stories with captions like, "Where are all the real men?" while the real men are at home, in the gym, in the garage, on the motorcycle, in the crypto charts, in the peace and quiet they fought years to earn. And the craziest part is most of these men are not angry anymore. They are not bitter. They are not yelling on the internet. They simply made a decision one by one, day by day, and they walked. This is not theory. This is not opinion. This is observable reality playing out in real time across every continent that adopted modern dating culture. Birth rates are collapsing in every developed nation. Marriage rates have fallen off a cliff. Dating app revenue is starting to flatline because men are deleting the apps faster than new ones can on board. Sperm counts are down, testosterone levels are down, male college enrollment is down. But do you know what is up? Male happiness indices in almost every study that separates the data by relationship status. Single men under 40 are now reporting higher life satisfaction than married men for the first time anyone can remember. Let that sink in. The penalty for pairing up has become so obvious that millions of men looked at the contract, read the fine print, and quietly said no thank you. And the group noticing this shift first and loudest is the one group nobody wants to talk about honestly: the leftover women. These are women who 10 or 15 years ago had endless options. They had the youth, the attention, the orbiters, the likes, the validation on tap 24/7. They were told their 20s were for finding themselves, for traveling, for career, for experiences, for sleeping with the exciting guys who would never commit while simultaneously pushing away the stable guys who would. They were told they could have it all and they could have it on their timeline. They were sold the ultimate lie that their value in the dating market would stay frozen in time while they did whatever they wanted. And then one day They would flip a switch, decide they were ready, and the highest quality men would still be waiting exactly where they left them. That day never came. Now these same women are hitting 35, 38, 42, and the silence is deafening. The matches on the apps have dried up to a trickle of divorced guys with kids or men who are clearly looking for something casual because anything more feels like financial suicide. The good morning texts, a vibe that stopped coming years ago. The orbiters moved on. The bad boys they chased in their 20s are either in jail, still chasing 25-year-olds, or conveniently missing when the reality of single motherhood shows up. And for the first time in their lives, these women are staring at a future with no children, no husband, no safety net, and nobody to blame but the mirror. Their parents are getting older. In 10 or 15 years, many of those parents will be gone. And the house that once felt full on Christmas morning will be empty except for one person and maybe a couple cats that do not care if she lives or dies. Doctors do not use the term geriatric pregnancy to be mean. It is the medical term once a woman passes 35 because the risks skyrocket for both mother and child. The data is brutal. Fertility drops off a cliff after 37. The chances of chromosomal abnormalities go through the roof. The odds of ever conceiving naturally without expensive medical intervention become lottery ticket slim. And even if everything works and a child is born, that child will have a mother who is pushing 60 when they graduate high school. These are not judgments. These are biological facts that no amount of positive thinking or my eggs are fine manifesting can negotiate with. Nature does not care about your follower count. Nature does not care about your corporate title. Nature does not care that you were told you could have it all. Nature keeps perfect time, and the bill always comes due. I want you to really picture one of these women for a second. Let us call her Jessica. Jessica is 39. She has a good job, nice apartment, posts the travel photos, still gets told she looks great for her age, which is the most backhanded compliment in the English language. Jessica spent her 20s dating the guys who gave her the tingles, the musicians, the guys with the motorcycles, the ones who texted at 2 a.m. asking, "What are you doing?" She turned down the engineers, the tradesmen, the quiet guys who wanted to take her to dinner and actually build something because those guys were boring. She wanted the spark. She wanted the excitement. She wanted to live her truth. And society cheered her on every step of the way. Every magazine cover, every influencer, every rom com told Jessica she was doing it right. Fast forward to today. Jessica opens Hinge, and the algorithm finally admits what she suspected. There is almost nobody left. The few men who do match are either 15 years older looking for a younger trophy they can no longer attract, or they are her age and already burned once or twice and have zero intention of ever signing another marriage contract. Jessica goes out with her friends on Saturday night and watches 25-year-old women get approached 10 times before the first drink arrives, while her table might as well have a force field around it. She posts on social media about how men are trash and gets hundreds of likes from other women in the exact same boat because misery loves company. But when she closes the phone and sits in the quiet of her apartment, the truth hits like a freight train. She is out of time and nobody is coming to save her. This is not one woman, this is millions. In China, they have an actual government term, shengnu, leftover women, officially applied to unmarried women over 27. The state literally runs propaganda telling women to settle earlier because even the Communist Party can see the demographic collapse coming. In South Korea, the 4B movement started as women swearing off men entirely, but now the panic content from women in their late 30s begging men to come back is flooding their platforms. Japan has been dealing with this for 2 decades. The West is just the latest domino to fall. The pattern is identical everywhere. Modern feminism took root. Women get sold the fantasy. Women ride the wave as long as youth and beauty pay the bills. Wave crashes, reality shows up, and the men who were told for decades they were not needed have finally taken the hint. Because here is the part nobody wants to say out loud: men listened. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. Men actually listened to everything women said they wanted. Women said, "Do not approach us in the gym." Men stopped. Women said, "Do not approach us in public." Men stopped. Women said, "Paying for dinner does not entitle you to anything." Men stopped paying. Women said, "We do not need a man." Men believed them. Women said, "Masculinity is toxic." Men went their own way. Women weaponized family court until marriage became financial Russian roulette. Men looked at the statistics and said, "Hard pass." Women created public shaming lists and apps to warn each other about men who dared to have boundaries or expectations. Men deleted their social media and disappeared. Women demanded independence, and men gave them the ultimate independence: zero attention, zero investment, zero commitment. And now the silence is deafening, and every day another video goes viral of a woman in her late 30s or early 40s recording herself in the car, almost in tears, asking, "Where have all the good men gone?" Every day, another relationship coach who spent years telling women they were queens, who deserved the world, pivots to damage control seminars titled "How to Get Him to Commit After 35." Every day, another article drops with a headline like "The Dating Gap: Why Women Can't Find Good Men Anymore," written by the same publications that spent 20 years telling men to cry more and apologize for existing. The mental gymnastics are Olympic gold medal level. The accountability is nowhere to be found because men did exactly what they were told to do. They left women alone. They stopped chasing. They stopped simping. They stopped financing lifestyles they were never invited to share. They kept their money, their time, their peace, and their seed. And the craziest part is most of them are happier than they have ever been. They travel when they want. They eat what they want. They sleep diagonally across the bed. They build businesses. They lift weights. They ride motorcycles. They stack crypto. They live like retired millionaires on working class salaries because the biggest expense in most men's lives simply walked itself out the door the day they decided peace was worth more than the performance. I want you to understand how deep this shift goes. This is not a few thousand guys on forums. This is millions of men across every race, every income level, every country where dating became a wealth transfer instead of a partnership. The data backs it up from every angle. Record numbers of men under 40 report they are not even looking for a relationship. Record numbers of men are voluntarily celibate and report zero distress about it. Record numbers of men say they would rather be alone than risk losing half their assets, their children, or their freedom in a system that is openly hostile to them. The social contract broke, and men did not break it. They simply refused to keep signing updated versions of a contract that kept getting worse for them every year. And the best part, the part that keeps me up smiling at night, is that this time there is no negotiation. There is no grand bargain coming. There is no cultural reset where men decide, "Yeah, we will come back if you just pinky promise to be nice this time." That ship has sailed, burned, and sunk to the bottom of the ocean. The men who walked away have built new lives that do not have a woman shaped hole in them anymore. They filled that space with peace, purpose, brotherhood, and self respect. They are not going back to the plantation. They are not returning to the circus. They are not trading their freedom for the privilege of financing someone else's therapy journey. The panic you are seeing now is only Act One. Wait until the economic reality hits. Wait until these women who spent their best years climbing corporate ladders realize the pension plan was always supposed to have a husband in it. Wait until social security systems start collapsing because there are not enough children being born to pay into them. Wait until hospitals are full of lonely, elderly women with nobody to visit them while the men who opted out are living in paid off cabins in the mountains with their dogs and their crypto wallets and their peace that nobody can ever take away. This is the story nobody was supposed to tell out loud, but it is happening right in front of our eyes. And it is only getting started. The panic phase we are in right now is deliciously predictable. It always follows the same script. First comes denial. You have seen the videos. Women in their late 30s laughing nervously on podcasts, saying things like, I'm literally a catch. I don't understand why men aren't lining up. Then comes the bargaining. Suddenly, the same women who spent a decade saying, I don't need no man, are posting thirst traps with captions like, just looking for someone to build an empire with. Then comes the anger. That is where we are at the moment. Entire Facebook groups and TikTok pages dedicated to calling men cowards, losers, emotionally unavailable, afraid of strong women, too broke, too short, too whatever the insult of the week is. And finally, after the anger burns itself out, comes the stage nobody wants to name: acceptance. But by the time most of them get there, the men they are trying to accept the absence of have been gone so long they are ghosts. Let me tell you about a man I know personally. We will call him Marcus. Marcus is 41 now. 10 years ago, he was the guy every woman claimed she wanted. 6'2", fit, owned his own plumbing company, no kids, no debt, calm personality, paid his taxes, opened doors, planned real dates, the whole package. Between the ages of 28 and 34, he asked out over 100 women. Not club hookups, not situationships, actual dinner dates where he showed up on time, dressed well, listened, paid, and made it clear he was looking for something serious. Out of those 100 plus dates, he got exactly 2 relationships that lasted longer than 4 months. Both ended the same way. The women decided they were not ready to settle down and left him for the more exciting option. One of them even said the words, your husband material, but I'm not done having fun yet. She was 31 when she said that. Fast forward 8 years. Marcus is now financially independent, lives in a paid off house on 5 acres, has 3 dogs, a garage full of toys, and a crypto portfolio that would make most people cry. He has not been on a date in 6 years. He deleted all the apps. He does not even look up when an attractive woman walks past him at the hardware store. He is polite. He is friendly. But the part of him that used to light up at the possibility of meeting someone is simply switched off. And here's the kicker: he is happier than he has ever been in his entire life. He wakes up when he wants, eats steak 3 times a week if he feels like it, travels to watch Formula One races in person, and has a circle of brothers who would take a bullet for him. The last time an ex from his past slid into his DMs asking, how have you been? He left her on red and went back to watching the sunset from his back deck with a cold beer and zero drama. That is not bitterness, that is victory. Multiply Marcus by 10 million, and you start to understand the scale we are dealing with. Women are beginning to realize that the high value man they were told would always be waiting when they were finally ready was never waiting in the first place. He was living his life, building his peace, and the window they thought stayed open forever actually had a timer that nobody told them was running. And the most terrifying part for them is that these men are not hurt. They are not damaged. They are not hiding. They are simply done. The juice is no longer worth the squeeze. The risk is no longer worth the reward. The headache is no longer worth the occasional good night. And do you want to know the darkest little secret that nobody in the mainstream will ever admit? A huge percentage of these men still have options. They still get attention. They still get approached. They still have women in their DMs. The difference is they finally learn to say no. They learn that attention is not the same as compatibility. They learn that beauty fades, but chaos is forever. They learn that a woman who brings peace is infinitely rarer than a woman who brings problems wrapped in a pretty package. And once a man tastes real peace, going back to the circus feels like volunteering to have your soul set on fire for someone else's entertainment. I want you to think about the phrase men walking away for a second. It is not a movement with leaders and t-shirts and rallies. It is not even an organized thing. It is millions of individual men in millions of individual moments making the same quiet decision. I choose me. That decision looks different for every man. For some, it is deleting dating apps. For some, it is moving to a lower tax state, and buying land. For some, it is stacking Bitcoin instead of buying engagement rings. For some, it is lifting weights 6 days a week until the body that was once ignored becomes undeniable. For some, it is simply learning to enjoy the sound of silence instead of the sound of arguments. But the result is the same: a man who no longer needs external validation from the gender that spent decades telling him his value was conditional. And the ripple effects are only starting to hit the surface. Real estate in big cities is already shifting because single men with no children and no desire to impress women are not buying overpriced apartments to be close to nightlife. They are buying land 2 hours outside the city where nobody bothers them. Car manufacturers are quietly freaking out because the men who used to lease a new truck every 3 years to look good on dates are now keeping their paid off 2012 Tacoma for 15 years and putting the money in index funds. Jewelry companies are laying people off because the will you marry me diamond market is shrinking faster than anyone predicted. Even the wedding industry is starting to sweat. Vegas chapels are down. Destination wedding planners are pivoting to girls' trips because the men who used to finance the whole circus simply are not there anymore. But the biggest shift of all is happening inside men's heads. For the first time in modern history, huge numbers of men are asking themselves a question their grandfathers never had to ask. Do I actually want this, or was I just told I was supposed to want this? And when they run the numbers, when they look at the divorce statistics, when they look at the child support horror stories, when they look at the men they know who lost everything because they loved the wrong woman, the answer becomes painfully clear. The answer becomes no. The answer becomes hell no. Let me paint you another picture. There is a coffee shop I go to sometimes. Every Saturday morning, the same scene plays out. A group of 4 or 5 women in their early 40s sit at the big table by the window. Designer yoga outfits, fresh highlights, ringing laughter that feels a little too loud. They spend 2 hours talking about how there are no good men left, how dating apps are trash, how men their age only want younger women, how society has failed them. And every single Saturday, without fail, a man in his 50s or 60s walks in alone, orders his coffee, sits quietly, reads a book or checks his phone, and leaves. He is calm. He is relaxed. He is clearly divorced. You can spot it a mile away. The absence of stress that used to live on his face is gone. And every single Saturday, one of those women will glance over at him, hold the glance a half second too long, and then go back to complaining about the lack of options. The irony is so thick you need a chainsaw to cut it. Because that man was them 10 years ago. That man was the one picking up the check, planning the vacations, trying to make it work while she chased the feeling instead of building the future. And now the roles are reversed and the universe is laughing. I need you to understand something very clearly. This is not revenge. This is not men punishing women. This is cause and effect on a civilizational scale. You cannot spend 50 years telling an entire gender they are disposable, replaceable, toxic, unnecessary, and then act confused when they finally believe you and act accordingly. You cannot weaponize the court system, the media, the culture, and social norms against men and then be shocked when they opt out of the entire game. You cannot scream men need to do better for decades while simultaneously making it impossible for them to win and then wonder why they stopped playing. The game was rigged. Men saw the rigging. Men left the table. And here's the part that keeps the blue pill crowd up at night. Most of these men are not waiting for the rules to change. They are not holding out hope that society will suddenly become fair. They are building lives that do not require women to be happy, fulfilled, or prosperous. They are creating brotherhoods, networks, communities, and wealth that exist completely outside the old paradigm. And the more peaceful and successful they become, the less incentive they have to ever go back. Women are starting to feel this in their bones. That is why the content has shifted so dramatically in the last 2 years. Go look at the biggest female dating coaches on YouTube right now. 2 years ago, they were all queens don't settle, know your worth, he needs to earn you. Today, half of them are doing scared damage control. Ladies, maybe stop telling men you don't need them if you want them to stay. Ladies, maybe stop friend zoning the nice guy while chasing the guy who treats you like an option. Ladies, maybe the list of 637 requirements is a little long. They can feel the ground disappearing beneath their feet, and they are trying to walk back 50 years of cultural programming in 6 month increments. It is too late. The men who needed to hear that message 10 years ago have already heard the only message that mattered: silence. And silence is the most powerful answer a man can give. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine a world 20 years from now. The women who spent their youth chasing everything except commitment are now in their late 50s and 60s. Many of them never married. Many of them never had children. Their parents are gone. Their friends are scattered or struggling with their own problems. Their careers that were supposed to fulfill them have plateaued or ended. They live in apartments that echo when they walk across the floor. They have money for vacations, but nobody to go with. They have plenty of acquaintances, but nobody who would notice if they did not come home. And somewhere, maybe 2 states over, maybe in another country entirely, lives the man who once would have moved mountains for them. He is sitting on a porch he built with his own hands, drinking coffee he ground himself, watching the sun come up over land that belongs to him free and clear, with a dog at his feet and peace in his heart that no amount of money could ever buy. And the craziest part is he does not even think about her anymore. She is a chapter that ended so long ago. The book is in a different library. That is the future that is coming. That is the future that is already here for millions of men. And there is nothing anyone can do to stop it. The bell has rung, the game is over, the men have left the building. And the most fascinating part of all of this is how quiet the exodus has been. There were no press conferences. There were no manifestos nailed to church doors. There were no million-man marches on Washington, just millions of individual men in millions of private moments, closing their wallets, locking their doors, turning off their phones, and choosing themselves without announcing it to the world. The loudest revolution in modern history has been almost completely silent. The only people who noticed were the ones who used to depend on male attention the way a fish depends on water, and now the tank is empty and the pump stopped running years ago. Let me take you inside the mind of the average man who made this choice. Walk with me through the exact process that turned a former captain, save a princess, into a stone cold ghost. It usually starts small. Maybe he gets burned one time too many. Maybe he watches his best friend lose his house, his kids, and his will to live in a divorce that was filed because she just wasn't happy anymore. Maybe he spends 3 years dating a woman who keeps him in limbo while she figures herself out, only to see her lock down a different guy in 6 months the moment her biological clock starts making noise. Maybe he simply opens his eyes one day and realizes he has spent the last decade jumping through hoops for women who never once asked what he wanted, what he needed, or what kept him up at night. Whatever the final straw is, it lands, and something inside him shifts permanently. At first, he still feels the pull. Old habits die hard. He still catches himself double tapping pictures. He still feels that little spike of dopamine when a new match pops up. But now there is a new voice in his head, quiet at first, then louder every day. That voice asks one simple question before he sends the message, before he offers to buy dinner, before he even likes the story. What exactly am I going to get out of this that is worth what it's going to cost me? And for the first time in his life, he waits for an honest answer. Not the fantasy answer, not the Disney answer, not the answer his mother or society or Instagram told him he was supposed to believe. He waits for the real answer. And when the silence is the only thing that comes back, he closes the app and goes to the gym instead. That is step one. Step two is where it gets beautiful. He starts reinvesting every dollar, every minute, every ounce of energy he used to spend chasing, simping, orbiting, performing into himself. The money that used to go toward 180 date nights where he got a hug and a "I'm just not ready for anything serious" now goes into index funds or Bitcoin or paying off the truck. The hours he used to spend crafting the perfect text message now go into learning a new skill, building the body, reading the books he always meant to read. The mental bandwidth he used to burn stressing about why she left him on red now gets spent sleeping 8 hours a night and waking up without an anchor tied to his soul. Within 6 months, the change is physical. His jawline comes back. His bank account starts to look different. His posture straightens because nobody is standing on his neck anymore. Within a year, the change is undeniable. Old friends ask what happened. He just smiles and says, "I stopped playing a game I couldn't win." Within 2 years, he barely recognizes the man in the old photos, the one with the tired eyes and the forced smile sitting across the table from a woman who is already halfway out the door. That is when the final stage hits. The realization that peace is not the absence of sex or female company. Peace is the absence of chaos, drama, manipulation, ultimatums, passive aggressive comments, silent treatment, future faking, and all the other taxes modern women decided were part of the cover charge for their presence. Once a man lives without that noise for long enough, going back feels like choosing to walk into a burning building because someone inside promised there might be a cookie. I want you to meet another man. His name is David. David is 37. 5 years ago, David was engaged to a woman named Lauren. Lauren made 90,000 a year, had a master's degree, and spent every brunch telling the table how she was a strong, independent woman who didn't need a man to complete her. David made six figures as an electrical engineer, paid for most of the dates, paid for the $14,000 ring, paid for the wedding venue deposit, paid for the couples therapy when she decided she needed space 6 months before the wedding. The wedding never happened. Lauren decided she wasn't ready to lose her identity in a marriage and called the whole thing off. She kept the ring, by the way, said it was a gift. David spent 2 years trying to win her back, sent flowers, wrote letters, offered to go to more therapy. She posted pictures in Bali with a new guy 3 months later. Today, David owns two rental properties, a Tesla he paid cash for, and a golden retriever named Cash. He coaches youth wrestling on weekends, deadlifts 4 plates, and hasn't been inside a nightclub in 4 years. He took the 50 grand he would have spent on a wedding and honeymoon and put it into a down payment on a fourplex. The tenants now pay his mortgage and send him a check every month while he and Cash drive to the lake whenever they feel like it. David has not spoken to Lauren in 3 years. She tried to reach out last year on his birthday with the classic "Hey Stranger" message. He screenshot it, sent it to the group chat with the boys, and we all laughed for 10 straight minutes. Then he blocked the number and took Cash for a hike. That is not a revenge story. That is a success story. And stories like David's are multiplying faster than anyone can track. Women are now making TikToks with captions like, "I swear men over 35 have just vanished." They are not wrong. Those men did not vanish. They just stopped advertising their location. They stopped posting their accomplishments for female validation. They stopped putting their lives on display in the hope that someone would notice and reward them with affection. They went quiet. They went private. They went peaceful. And in the silence, they became unstoppable. Look at any major city subreddit right now, and you will see threads started by women asking the same question: where do men in their 40s even hang out? The answers from men are pure poetry. Home, the gym at 5 a.m., my garage, fishing, places that don't have ring lights and overpriced cocktails. The women keep replying, "No, but seriously, where can I meet them?" And the men just stop responding because the irony is too perfect to ruin with an explanation. Because here is the secret they will never understand: these men do not want to be found. Not by the women who ignored them when they were available, not by the women who priced them out of the market and then acted confused when the market corrected, not by the women who spent a decade saying, "Where are all the real men?" while swiping left on every real man who didn't make six figures and look like a Marvel character. Those men built a life without a woman shaped hole in it, and they are not tearing the whole structure down because someone who used to treat them like an option suddenly realized options have expiration dates. The dating apps are now admitting in their quarterly reports that male engagement is collapsing. Bumble's entire business model was built on women messaging first because men were doing all the work. Now women have to message first into a void because the men are simply not there anymore. Hinge proudly claims it is designed to be deleted, and men took that literally and deleted it. Tinder is rolling out new features nobody asked for because the core product, men swiping right on almost everything in the hope of a match, is drying up. The entire multi-billion-dollar digital dating industrial complex is learning the hard way that you cannot build a business on the back of one gender's unpaid emotional labor forever. Eventually, that gender wakes up, stretches, and walks away. And when they walk, they do not look back. I want you to think about the last time you saw a truly happy married man under 40 who wasn't rich or famous. Really think about it. Not the guy performing on social media, not the guy with the curated Instagram, the real guy, the one you know personally, the one who isn't afraid to tell the truth when the wives are out of earshot. How many can you name? Now think about the last time you saw a single man under 40 who was genuinely at peace. No drama, no debt from keeping someone else happy, no walking on eggshells, no coming home to tension thick enough to choke on. How many of those guys do you know? The ratio is getting wider every single day because peace is the new currency. And women never realized how rich men were willing to become in it. The craziest part is that most of these men are still capable of love. They are not broken. They are not afraid of women. They are not hiding in their mother's basements playing video games. They are out in the world living better lives than most married men ever will. They just decided that love has to add to their life now, not subtract from it. The price of admission is peace, reciprocity, respect, and genuine desire to build something real. And the vast majority of modern women have no idea how to offer any of those things because they were never required to before. The market used to absorb all behavior because men had no other options. Now men have the only option that matters, themselves. And themselves turned out to be enough. The next 10 years are going to be a masterclass in consequences that nobody will be allowed to talk about on mainstream television. By 2035, the first wave of women who fully bought the I can have it all exactly when I want it narrative will be hitting 55. Their parents will be gone or in nursing homes they can barely afford to visit. Their careers will be plateauing or already over because corporate America has no use for a 55-year-old mid-level manager when they can hire a 30-year-old for half the price. Their apartments will feel bigger every year because there is less and less reason to come home to them. And the silence, man, the silence will be deafening. They will open their phones on Friday nights and scroll through feeds full of people they used to know, posting pictures of their teenagers at graduation, their husbands kissing them on the forehead at some vineyard, their families laughing around a Christmas tree that actually has children under it. And for the first time in their lives, they will understand what the word regret really means. Not the cute little, I shouldn't have had that third margarita regret, the deep, soul crushing, breath stealing regret that sits on your chest at 3 a.m. and whispers you had one job, one biological job, and you chose everything except that job because you were told the job would wait. Meanwhile, the men who walked away will be living lives that look like retirement commercials, even if they never made it to seven figures. 50-year-old men with full heads of hair, low body fat, paid off houses, fat investment accounts, and the ability to take a random Wednesday off to go fishing because nobody is at home nagging them about the baseboards. Men who learn to cook steak exactly the way they like it. Men who have brotherhoods deeper than most marriages. Men who wake up every single day and the first thought in their head is not, how do I keep her happy today? But what do I want to do with this day I earned? That gap, that ever widening canyon between those two realities is going to become the defining social story of the 2030s, and nobody in power wants you to notice it yet. Governments are already quietly panicking. Japan has been trying to bribe people to have children for 20 years, and it is not working. South Korea just recorded a fertility rate of 0.72, meaning for every woman having one child, almost three bloodlines disappear forever. Europe is importing replacement populations because their own women decided careers and travel were more important than family, and now the native birth rate cannot even keep the streetlights on. The United States is heading the same direction, just 10 years behind. Politicians keep talking about immigration as if new arrivals are going to pay into a social security system for a generation of childless cat ladies who spent their fertile years climbing corporate ladders that lead to nowhere. The math does not work. It never did. But the part that keeps me awake grinning is this: men saw it coming. Men did the math 20 years before the politicians did. Men looked at the deal on the table and said, no thanks, I'll keep my money, my freedom, and my future. And now the same society that spent decades calling those men losers, incels, emotionally stunted, afraid of strong women, is slowly realizing those losers were the only ones paying attention. Every empire in history collapsed when its men stopped caring whether it survived. Rome did not fall because of barbarians at the gates. Rome fell because Roman men stopped thinking it was worth defending. The same thing is happening again, just slower and with better Wi Fi. Women are starting to feel the cold wind of reality in ways they never expected. Rents are going up, but male roommates are disappearing because men figured out they would rather pay a little more to live alone than deal with female drama in their own homes. Gym memberships for women are surging because the gym used to be a place to get attention, and now it is the only place left where some women can even be in the same room as fit men who will not talk to them. Entire industries built on female consumption are quietly shrinking because single childless women spend money very differently than wives and mothers do. Cruise lines are already noticing that the girls' trip crowd tips less, complains more, and books the cheapest cabins because they do not have a husband's income to draw from. Even the medical system is about to get hit like a freight train. Who do you think changes the diapers, drives to appointments, manages the medications, and sits in waiting rooms with elderly parents? Historically, it was daughters and daughters in law. But when there are no children and no husbands, who does it? The state? With what money and what staff? The same state that is already bankrupt from promising pensions to a generation that never had kids to pay into the system. Good luck with that. And the loneliest part, the part nobody talks about yet, is the deathbed reality that is coming. There is a reason old men die within months of losing a spouse, and old women linger for years. Old men usually have a wife who managed every detail of their life. When she is gone, they give up. Old women usually have children and grandchildren who visit, who call, who care, even when it is inconvenient. When those children and grandchildren do not exist, the end comes fast and it comes alone. And I want you to picture a hospital room in 2045. An 80-year-old woman, once a mid level marketing director, who lived her truth, now unable to walk, unable to feed herself, unable to remember what day it is. The nurses are overworked, the aides are underpaid. There is no daughter to advocate for her. There is no son in law to move her to a better facility. There is no grandson sneaking her McDonald's French fries because grandma always loved the bad stuff. There is just a state appointed guardian who visits once a month to make sure the bills are paid and the body is still breathing. That woman will die with fewer people at her bedside than fingers on one hand. And most of those people will be there because it is their job. Now, picture a different room, same year. A 75-year-old man who walked away at 35. He is not rich by billionaire standards, but he is comfortable. He spent decades stacking, lifting, building, and most importantly, cultivating real brotherhood. There are 12 men in that room who knew him for 40 years. Men who fished with him, worked on cars with him, watched games with him, cried with him when his dog died. His nieces and nephews are there because Uncle Mike was always the cool one who showed up with dirt bikes and life advice. Someone brought his favorite beer and cracked it open so he could smell it one last time. Someone else is playing his favorite song on a little speaker. He dies surrounded by love he actually earned, love that was never transactional, love that showed up because he showed up for decades. That is the difference between a life spent chasing validation and a life spent building something real. That is the difference between the path most women were sold and the path most men are now choosing. And that difference is only going to grow starker with every passing year. We are already seeing the first waves of women trying to rewrite history. The same women who spent their 20s and 30s bragging about how many bodies they had, how they lived their hot girl summer, how they did not need a man, are now quietly deleting old posts and rewriting captions to make it look like they were always traditional. The same women who called men trash for wanting a virgin are now claiming they only have a few past partners when the real number is closer to a few dozen. The same women who laughed at 25-year-old virgins are now 38 and trying to convince those same men to give them a chance. The mental gymnastics are world class, but the marketplace does not care about your new narrative. The marketplace cares about what you brought to it when it still mattered. And the marketplace has spoken. But the final stage of all this, the part that will probably shock people the most, is that a whole generation of men is about to age like fine wine, while a whole generation of women ages like milk left in the sun. Men who spent their 30s, 40s, and 50s lifting, eating clean, staying out of debt, and avoiding stress are going to hit their 60s and 70s looking and feeling 20 years younger. Women who spent those same decades chasing validation, riding the carousel, burning cortisol with corporate jobs, and dating chaos are going to hit the wall at 65 looking 85. The dating gap that exists now between 35-year-old women and 45-year-old men is about to become a canyon between 60-year-old women and 70-year-old men who look 55 and have the energy of 45-year-olds. And the best part? Those men will not be single out of necessity. They will be single by choice, surrounded by brotherhood, hobbies, purpose, and peace. They will have women chasing them, younger women, fit women, women who actually bring value. And those men will look at the offer, smile politely, and say, "Thank you, but I'm good." Because once you have tasted real freedom, going back to the plantation is not an option. Once you have built a life where your happiness does not depend on someone else's mood, handing over the keys to that life feels like the dumbest trade in history. Once you have seen female nature without the filter of desperation or scarcity, the mask never goes back on. That is the red pill that cannot be unswallowed. That is the truth that sets men free. And that freedom is spreading faster than any government, any media outlet, any angry feminist screaming into the void can ever hope to stop. And the tide went out. The men never came back. And the world is changing forever because of it. All roads still lead to one place: men walking away. What did you think about everything we just went through? Do you agree? Do you see it playing out around you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Like the video if it hit hard. Don't forget to subscribe for more. And if you are feeling generous, go ahead and share this with every man who needs to hear it today. And just remember, all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. Cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.